Our trade call today is to short sterling dollar. The entry price is 1.7655, so sell on peak. Stop loss is at 1.68, and the first profit is 1.6710, and second profit is 1.6665. So I leave the charts here. So if you want to copy, you can just copy from here. Now let's go to the questions. If you have any questions, you can just type here. First question is from Adam. Adam is asking, could Janet Yellen be more hawkish in this Jackson Hole meeting? I think the chance is pretty low, right? The reason is because the reason is because the Fed at this moment, like I mentioned, number one is that where the rest of the central banks to be dovish, it's pretty difficult to be Fed to be hawkish by themselves. Otherwise, everything will go against them. Their rates will hike, currency will hike, then it probably will trigger some damage to the economy. So I don't see Janet Yellen has a reason to be so hawkish at this moment. Number two is, like I mentioned just now, is she just want to be more cautious and more patient to make sure the economy moving to a more quality territory. Then she will start to gradually, even very gradually, to raise the rate. Number three is now we are moving toward to the end of the QE3 sessions. So if at this moment she's going to talking anything, raise the interest rate, it's also very to bring the curve more steepen. So that's not positive for the U.S. economy in the near term, probably in the Federal Reserve point of view. So I don't see the very high chance Janet Yellen will shift the tone to be hawkish. Eva is asking, what do you think the lending data in China last week? Is this one-off event, or it's a slowing down signal? I think it's probably still a 1 month effect, but you cannot ignore the reason that we probably will see the demand, especially the domestic demand, start to weaken from here, and also the property price is slow. That's why you see that the data is pretty, the lending is pretty slow. But it certainly raised the expectation that the PBOC or the Chinese official will continue to make its stimulus to be carry on, and at least the third quarter GDP to be released above 7.5% or around 7.5%. Then probably they will make the policy to be a little bit tightened in the fourth quarter. But at this moment, I don't see the PBOC and the Chinese official has the intention to tighten the economy. Lee is asking, I've heard about increase of short selling in U.S. equity market by George Soros. Does this mean a strong expectation of the interest rate raised by Federal Reserve or breakdown in equity market? Okay, I didn't see why George Soros want to sell the equities market, so I never see that piece of news. But if you ask me the U.S. equities views, I would tell you that my view is it's still pretty supportive in the near term. The reason is the U.S. economic data is still pretty strong, and based on my expectation, I don't see they're going to raise the interest rate pretty soon, and probably they will only give you some signal by the end of the year. But of course, those kind of funds, especially the big funds, right? Sometimes they're talking about 3-year, 5-year horizon with you. So it's also very depends on what's your time frame. But the other point is, think about it. If the Federal Reserve want to raise the interest rate, they want to make sure the economy must be able to working by themselves without the help. So a better economy should push the corporate profit to be higher. So that should be also positive for the U.S. economy. Last note is, sometimes these people are talking, they're going to sell the U.S. equities. In the end, they probably might not sell. They have their own, own plans. So this is just my view. So you can just look at what's the reason he wants to sell the U.S. equities, but you don't need to look at the headlines quite closely. So most of the time we are looking at what kind of reason she or he provides. I think that's the most important things. Okay, so that's all for today's 1 hour's webinar. So it's a very great to see you guys here. In next week, we will resume our webinar. We will talk to you about the China and the Eurozone manufacturing PMI. How does that impact the market further? Of course, next week we will also talk to you about what kind of languages we hear from Janet Yellen, which is going to impact the US dollar in the near future. So good night. See you next week.